One more thing I wanted to mention that I was thinking about it, because to me, like getting into um, how you would take your technique and eventually effectively transition it to shots on the golf course would be okay. So to me, I'm back here. I'm going to visualize the shot. I'm going to see what I want it to do. But as I'm priming myself, I'm trying to figure out what kinesthetically what that feel is, right? But as I'm trying to hold on to that kinesthetic feel, the kinesthetic feel is not letting me. I mean, you have some sense of where the target is when you're set up to the ball. I mean, you know it's not way over there, you know it's not back there. So you have some sense, but it's not nearly accurate enough. So the thing you have to rely on is your ability to truly align the system well, to truly get the target coordinates correctly. I mean, exactly spot on. Because your kinesthetics can't really do that. Your kinesthetics can give you a neutral or a less neutral, whatever you've decided, impact condition compared to whatever static baseline you've set up when you've stepped into the shot, right? So if you're pointed 10 degrees to the right, neutral to that dynamically is 10 degrees to the right, obviously. So to me, what I would do just to see, just as a check to see, is it would be actually good if you had two alignment sticks, but then you had two other pieces that connected. It'd just be easier. I mean, you could do it without, but it'd be easier if you had two pieces that were like this, right? So you essentially had a box. You had two alignment sticks and then two pieces that connected the alignment sticks, and you could move those in and out. But you could always make sure they were dead parallel to each other, right? And so what you would do is you would, let's say you're hitting the ball from right here on the left side of the divot. So you're hitting the ball right here. This is where you're setting up. So you go through your routine, right? And you pick a target and you set up to it. And then what you would do is, just because the ankle joints are a little more important than the toes, you make sure your feet are perpendicular. You flare your feet back in to get 90 degrees. Then you put the alignment stick on your toes, right? Then you step away. And if you had the alignment sticks connected together, and again, you don't have to, but if you had them connected together, you would pull it out to exactly where the ball is. You would push the ball aside, pull it out so that they were parallel, right? And you would know they're exactly parallel. And then you would walk back. And this is really tedious, but it's important. You would walk back and go, and you would do your thing just like you're lining up your alignment stick for practice. You would look at this alignment stick, and you would compare that to your target, right where the ball was. Did you really set up exactly parallel left, so that when you extrapolated that to parallel on the right, exactly where the ball is, and you look down that line, it's like, how well did you do? You know, and if you're like, you have to have it tight, man. You can't get back here and look at that and go, it was probably 30 feet left of the pin downrange. No. It's got to be like really good, right? Because this is what you're relying on. I mean, the rest of the stuff, all the other things you've gone to the trouble of doing to deliver dynamically good neutral angles compared to your setup are all for naught if you didn't aim the system properly. So you have to learn how to aim the system properly. I mean, exactly right. And that doesn't mean just putting an alignment stick down and hitting balls next to an alignment stick. You've got to test your ability to step into the shot with no reference points at all, and then get locked in, and then go, okay, this is where I would be before I pull the trigger and start moving the club. And then you bring your feet in 90 degrees, make sure they're the same as the ankle joints. Then you put the alignment stick right where your toes are, and then you have another alignment stick. And if they're not connected together, I should do a training need like that, right, where they just have pieces that connect them and they can telescope in and out depending on how far you are from the ball, whether it's a driver or a 9-iron. But all right, so we'll market that later. But make sure they're exactly parallel, and then you get back right where the ball was, and you get back there and go, okay, yeah, I nailed it, perfect, right? You get back here, use the shaft, right, just like you normally would, like you're trying to line up your golf ball on the whatever. You would put your shaft on use your aiming eye, and put your shaft on that guy and find out, like, is it exactly right? Because it has to be exactly right. You got to be able to do it from scratch with no reference point, get it exactly right all the time. Because everything else depends on it, right? What was I going to say? Yeah, so your aiming eye. So if you're left eye dominant, right eye dominant, your left eye, I'd be interested to hear if your left eye or right eye dominant too, because that has a pretty profound impact on what kind of range of freedom you have, and it affects your neck tilts, right? If you're right eye dominant, you're going to tend to put your head in a certain location, and then as you turn back away from the ball, you're going to try to come down, put your head back in another location. Right eye dominant tends to restrict your movement to the right, but it opens up really dynamic exit on the left. If you're left eye dominant, you tend to stay more, those types of guys to stay closed a little bit longer. They have a little harder time exiting left, but they can wind up really good and get behind it really good. Like, there's some limitations that you can work through based on what your aiming eye is, your dominant eye is. I think like 60-70% of tour pros are actually cross dominant, so right-handed but left eye dominant. But most human beings are same. Like, they're right eye, if they're right arm dominant, they're also right eye dominant. So, you know, typical, like Tiger Woods would be a left eye dominant guy, looking at his swing versus, and Jack Nicklaus would be the quintessential left eye dominant guy versus like a David Duval, which would be the quintessential right eye dominant guy. Paul Azinger, right eye dominant again. You can see distinct differences in their swing. Like, the right eye dominant guys tend to be stronger grip, a little bit more rotational, open through the ball, and it has a lot to do with the way they are naturally trying to orientate their head in relation to where the golf ball is, right? And that puts constraints on their freedom of rotation in both directions. It either opens it up or closes it down, just based on your body trying to keep your aiming eye in a certain orientation. So we could have a longer talk about that, but that's kind of an interesting thing to think about as well. But I'll leave that. We'll push that aside and talk about that later at some point. But anyway, that's some more stuff on your alignment stuff that you really need to get right. And I would want to hear that you're getting that part right, because that's basic stuff. Okay, man. See ya.